What's up guys, my name is Ace, and we already got our first title update for Call of Duty World War II, and with this we've got a lot of fixes as well as some weapon balancing in this patch. So today we are going to be going through the patch notes, which I will leave linked down below if you want to just read them for yourself, but towards the end of the video I will be doing some side-by-side comparisons with before and after. So just like with always, I mainly just cover the important things, the things that really matter. A lot of this stuff is just back-end fixes, and you guys can read that for yourself if you're interested in. I'm going to be focusing on the more substantial things that you can actually see. But one thing I will mention with this is they have said that they're working on connectivity improvements and everything like that. There are apparent issues, at least at the time of me recording this video, with people actually not being able to find games now at all. So obviously this isn't completely worked out at this point. I expect within the next couple weeks things will really start to smooth out in this area, just like they always do with every launch of Call of Duty. But the next thing I wanted to talk about here is the deranking issue. If you guys didn't know, within the first couple days of the game coming out, if you played in custom matches, there was a chance that you would lose all your ranks. And I actually personally ran into this. I was all the way up to level 38, I believe, and I got completely demoted because I was in some custom games doing testing and stuff, and it kind of sucked. I had to work my way all the way back up. I'm now up to the first prestige again, but that issue was actually solved a couple days ago in a hotfix. They just rolled that into this title update patch notes. So for those of you guys that are worried about going into custom games, especially with my accuracy drill and stuff, don't worry, that has been fixed. The next thing that I'm quite happy to see, looks like they took the feedback on the espionage basic training skill. They reduced the painted time from 10 seconds down to 6 seconds. So my suggestion for that in my video that I made about espionage was to cut that time in half, and they almost did that, so that's good. But in addition to that, they made it so only bullet damage will paint you. So before, even if you just got a hit with a stun grenade, you would get marked by espionage. Now it has to be bullet damage in order for that to happen. So that's great. I'm glad they listened to the feedback with this one and they made some adjustments. They didn't take it quite as far as I would have liked, but it's still a significant improvement and I'm glad to see that. No word on whether or not they fixed this for free-for-all. Maybe they're just going to leave it that way for free-for-all so it works for everybody when you mark somebody. But I'm glad they at least reduced that time a little bit. Now the rest of the general fixes that they have here before we get into the weapon balancing stuff is pretty much just like bug fixes and exploit fixes and optimizations and things like that. So it's stuff that you probably wouldn't really even notice that much unless you were really looking hard. But like I said, if you want to go check these out, make sure you click that link down below and have a look at them. So now let's move on to the weapon balancing changes. Whenever possible, I'm going to have a side-by-side comparison for you guys, and whenever it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't really make sense to have a side-by-side. But let's start it off with the buffs. The toggle action shotgun, this is the semi-auto shotgun, got a damage increase at extremely close range. And the purpose of this is to give it a one-shot kill potential if you're point blank. Now this doesn't significantly increase the power of this shotgun by any means. It's mainly just designed to make it so that you don't have to play hardcore game modes if you want to complete the one-shot kill challenges. You have to be pretty much touching your enemy in order to get that one-shot kill, but at least it is possible now with this shotgun. Generally, it's still going to be like a 2 to 3 shot kill though, in the average shotgun range. As for the Bren LMG, they increased the damage per shot. Now this was something where there was a discrepancy between the PC stats and the console stats, and they've now brought it in line with the PC stats. Before this patch on console, the Bren was a 3-shot kill at all ranges, and with its really slow rate of fire and its small magazine capacity, it was basically a useless LMG. Now they've made it so it's a 2-shot kill at pretty much any range you're going to find in the game, but they also tweaked the rate of fire here, and they didn't mention this in the patch notes. That was another one of those discrepancies where even though console had a lower damage than PC, they did have a higher fire rate. Now it's directly in line with the PC. Its fire rate was actually decreased by about 200 rounds per minute, so it fires significantly slower now, but you do have that 2-shot kill potential, so it's right where it's supposed to be for that. This is supposed to be that really heavy, clunky, but very powerful slow fire rate LMG. As for a general LMG buff, this is with the bipod when you have it deployed. Your aim down sight time is now sped up slightly with that bipod deployed. So that's it for the weapon buffs so far. Now let's have a look at the nerfs. First up, the BAR and FG42 both got a nerf to their hipfire spread, so they have a wider hipfire spread. Now keep in mind, before this patch they had the exact hipfire spread, and after the patch they still have the same hipfire spread as each other. They were just both nerfed in the exact same way. So I'm just going to show one of them. Keep in mind it applies to both of them, but as you can see, here's the pre-patch hip spread, and then here's the post-patch hip spread. It's pretty clear that they both got a noticeable nerf in this area, and this just means they're going to be slightly less effective with hipfire. In addition to this, in the patch notes, they said that they nerfed the hip spread for the STG-44, and as you can see, here's the before hip spread, and here's the after hip spread. Nothing changed, so I don't know what went wrong here. The STG did not get a nerf, even though the patch notes suggested it did. Now getting back to the BAR, this one also got a nerf to its fire rate. Its fire rate was decreased by roughly 10% based on my hand-tested values. And this generally isn't going to be super noticeable, but it does very slightly reduce its time to kill and make it a bit more in line with the other assault rifles. It's still a great rifle, it's still going to be arguably the best rifle in the game, it just got a very slight nerf to its rate of fire. As for the FG42, this one also got another nerf in addition to that hip spread increase. This was to its recoil, and this one is very noticeable. As you can see on the left, we've got the pre-patch recoil, and on the right, we've got the post-patch recoil. Huge difference to the recoil here. You're no longer going to be able to go full auto across the map against people with this thing. You'll have to be much more controlled with your shots. Moving on to the machine pistol, this one got a decrease to its damage ranges. Unfortunately, I haven't really done any testing on the pistols before this patch, so I don't know what this difference was, and I couldn't even tell you if it's noticeable because I rarely use the pistols, but just know it did get a slight decrease to its damage ranges. So finally, for the weapon tuning, we have a nerf to quickscoping, a little bit of a nerf at least to quickscoping. What they did is they fixed a bug with all sniper rifles zooming to exact center when aiming down sight. So that was actually unintentional, having the sniper rifles aim to the perfect center point when they initially aimed down sight. Instead, they were all supposed to aim slightly off center and in a random sort of direction off center so that you couldn't get those perfect, extremely long range quickscopes on somebody as long as you had them perfectly centered. There is going to be a degree of randomness when you first aim down sight, and this is a good thing in my mind. We'll have to see how this ends up turning out. It's not really going to affect quickscoping at those medium sort of ranges, but at least at those longer ranges, it's generally going to take a sniper a little bit longer to get his shot lined up. So there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for the patch notes today. One quick note I want to point out here, because I'm already seeing a few people tweet this, and I'm seeing some comments pop up here and there. People are upset that they're doing weapon balancing changes when they haven't sorted out networking issues. I just wanted to clear this up. The people that are working on weapon balancing are not the same people working on the networking stuff. So for a lot of people, they seem to think that the people that work on networking are the same people that work on weapon balancing, and they're slacking off on the networking part so they can go and work on weapon balancing. And that's simply not the case. I think it's a good thing that they've already started making some weapon balancing changes, so hopefully that means we can find our optimal balance as soon as possible in this game, and then we'll have a longer life cycle of optimal weapon balancing. And just because they're making weapon balancing changes, this doesn't mean that they're also slacking in the networking area because of that. And that's not to make any excuses for the networking issues. There are clearly still networking issues that need to be resolved. Just know that the weapon balancing changes don't come at the expense of networking improvements. So with that, we're going to wrap it up today. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about these changes so far? Do you like the fact that they gave the BAR and the FG42 a bit of a nerf, or did you think they were fine as is? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.